Okay, so we are back with a final video on this series on how to create your online identity as a brand on Instagram. Now, this one is going to look at curating aesthetics. Aesthetics is a buzzword that has really gained momentum alongside Instagram, and in the past, say 5 to 10 years, Instagram has really become a marketing tool, not just for brands, but as individuals, and there has become this big, I suppose, societal obsession with being aesthetically pleasing. And it is honestly the most important thing for you as a brand. Over any other video, this is the most important element in transitioning your brand's identity from the physical brand to its online identity. On Instagram, being aesthetic really just means having a cohesive, well-presented feed. It is the first thing potential customers are going to notice when they check out your brand's profile. Aesthetics means the colors, layout, tone, and overall feeling of your feed and how this contributes to your page. I suppose in the last video we talked about influencer marketing, and an influencer may be able to direct their own audience to your brand, but if it is a red hot mess on your own page, that audience isn't going to stay. And that does two things. It's going to make them reconsider their trust in the influencer, and they're probably just not going to purchase. Well, they won't purchase from you, and then you've lost money paying an influencer to promote your brand and by not getting any purchases. So this is super important. The importance of aesthetic goes beyond being visually pleasing, however. It can improve brand recognition and therefore your business's success. It helps you convey your brand's voice, personality, and eventually, if you have a strong enough audience, they are going to be able to recognize your content and products instantly. So this sounds quite simple, but how is it possible to create a visually pleasing aesthetic that is going to convey you as a brand and your brand's values? Step 1. Establish your brand. Before you even consider posting content, you need to have a complete idea of every single aspect and element of your brand. You need to consider these questions. Who is your target audience? As a fitness brand, this might seem obvious. You want to attract people who exercise or live an active lifestyle. But what about age? What type of exercise does your ideal customer engage in? There is no point selling non-squat proof shorts to a power lifter. But, someone who does yoga may be interested in them because they're after something that's flexible and comfortable. They're not concerned with the durability and whether it's squat proof or not. And thanks to Instagram, you literally have thousands of your ideal customers from a screen. It isn't, I suppose, say a decade ago where you had to appeal to all these different customers because you only had the physical location. You can now across the globe access your ideal customer, which puts you in a position to really hone in on this, who your ideal customer is. So they know the demographic, know their age group, know what exercise they do. There's no point selling shorts to an Eskimo, and create content towards that customer. Second of all, what are your brand's core values? Different brands have different priorities, and this information is going to affect the overall look and feel on Instagram. Once again, we are looking at Gymshark and Stax here. Admittedly, Gymshark is an internationally known brand, and Stax is just gaining traction on the international scale. It's an emerging Australian brand, but it is obvious from their Instagram aesthetics who the two different brands are appealing to. Gymshark has a clear target audience, young people whose whole life basically revolves around the gym. It has got fitness, but it is very gym focused, and it's very lifting heavy. It's very functional moving. It's quite intense. And, it's directed at people that want to slaughter themselves. It is not aimed at a 40-year-old mother in a spin class. But it's also clear that Gymshark want to carry their values outside of the gym. They post recipes, inspirational and motivating quotes, and images of their product being worn by customers or people in everyday life. Look here, they've got how to do your self-breast exam. That is taking their values of health and fitness outside of the gym into their everyday life. And they want people wearing their products to do that, to take those values and own them every aspect. Stax, comparatively, are completely fashion. All the images on their feed are stagnant, showcasing how you are going to look in their product. They do not deviate from this aesthetic. It is crisp, it is clean, and in their last drop, some of their products sold out in under 2 minutes, so it is clearly effective. Rule number 3, what's your vibe? This sounds like a bit colloquial, but it's really important, I swear. Does your brand want to be more like fashionable like Stacks so you can upload minimalist and cool content? Or are you more like Gymshark and spending hours a day under iron? Who are you directing it at? You know, the content Gymshark produces has this real push the boundaries vibe. They post their athletes smashing their workouts, getting PBs, and you feel motivated when you're looking at their content. Stacks, however, does not have as much life to it because they are aiming their products, I suppose, really only at the younger female age group who are also going to be wearing their product to Sunday brunch and taking cute photos for Instagram, ironically, in it. You know, and like this is just two differences of two brands that, you know, someone of my demographic that I have identified, I wear both brands. I wear both brands to the gym. I do everything in both brands, but it's really interesting how they appeal to the different person. Step 2, take color seriously. Like, color is the most important thing when creating an Instagram aesthetic, which is really ironic because this is a black and white slide, but you know, c'est la vie. Research finds that color influences consumer buying products by around 85%. Not only this, but color increased brand recognition by 80%. So make the right color decision to get the most sales possible. Because at the end of the day, that's the whole point of having a brand identity, is pushing sales. Stacks here is quite obvious in their color scheming. Each drop of clothing, they find a background that fits the color scheme of their collection, and they do not deviate from the background for any posted content on their feed. I'm also going to note here that Stacks don't actually post images or content of older collections to their direct feed. They might in their stories, but they only post their current collection and then transition into a new one once their new range is about to drop on their actual feed. Like, look here, it is the same vibe the whole way through. And having a uniform color palette creates a crisp vibe that Stacks is known for. Like I said earlier, you know, having an aesthetic curates your identity, and then your audience know that that's you. Stacks have nailed this. They are a new brand that do not deviate from their aesthetic. So once you have a solid understanding of these factors, you're set to begin posting. However, I would recommend an act like Preview, which allows you to plan your feed before posting, and this is going to give you the chance to ensure you are creating a cohesive feed and that your color palette is consistent. So now you are set to begin, but it doesn't just stop at feeds. Once you've established your aesthetic, look at Instagram's other features and use them. Here we have videos and stories, well, sharing stories from a consumer actually. And like, stories are only available for 24 hours, but they do provide the perfect opportunity to create content that doesn't just fit your feed's aesthetic. You can share customers' content in your product. You can post polls, put a question box up to get customers and, you know, ask customers about what they want to see, what questions they have about collections, so on and so forth. However, if you are planning on doing this, plan it and plan it well. Do not reshare customers' content without fixing the frame so that all of these shares, look at this video. It is the same frame the whole way through. That might not have come from the customer, but Stacks have definitely edited it to make sure that it fits that frame. And also, don't use white all the time because it's neutral. Have fun with your content and ensure the backgrounds of your resharing or of your polls, of your question box, appeals to the customer and it has a color palette that is the same as your aesthetic. I really hope you have found this video series helpful and it has provided the basics for your development of your online identity as a fitness brand.